All right, Degidio, the Full Experience podcast. I'm here with one of the best players ever to play the game, and we heard it on the last episode of the Full Experience from Oliver Lang, the most closest to his style and play, and probably the best player in eyes is Archie. Archie, welcome to the Full Experience podcast.
What's up, Bear? Glad to be here. Excited to be on and whatever, answer some questions.
That's it, bro. That's what we do. We're going to get straight down to business, just like we like to do. I want to start off with just give the people that don't know you and the people that are new to the Full Experience podcast who you are, who you play for, and what teams you started with in the game that got you to where you're at right now.
Yeah, my name is Archie Montemayor, and I play for San Diego Dynasty now. I kind of cut my teeth growing up in Texas, playing with X Factor and helping turn X Factor into a pro team, and more recently over the last like 6-7 years into one of the best teams in the world. Now I'm playing with Dynasty. I'm really looking forward to it, and just kind of seeing what the next chapter is.
Cool. And we obviously know you as a BKIT, one of the OGs of paintball and one of the kids that kind of started basically to put paintball on the map in Texas. Your style of play, like we've heard from Oliver himself, is the closest to him, which we consider the GOAT of our industry. So to see you as kind of like the next persona of him to come into the game and then kind of take it on a form of your own has been amazing. What is BKIT, and how do you think that you put Texas paintball on the map, which you did, and I say that with the utmost respect to everybody else that's from Texas?
Yeah, well, Best Kids from Texas, that's what BKIT stands for. And actually, there's a movie on Amazon. I believe it's still on Amazon. You should check it out. It's literally just called The Best Kids in Texas. And Dan Napoli did a great job on that, and Planet Eclipse, who essentially kind of funded him coming around and following us. But basically, Best Kids in Texas was a group of kids. We were all, in our mid-teens playing local tournaments around Texas. And because we were all on different teams, we were at the tournaments and we kind of considered ourselves our own little clique of the best kids in the state. And then thankfully, Alex kind of picked us all up and we formed a formidable team and ended up being X Factor. And that's kind of how the team got essentially started on its climb up the ranks.
Amazing. And with you being on X Factor and obviously just leaving, but helping them win, and basically, like Oliver said, which I love using this as a great example, you made X Factor an X Factor at every event, was the words he said. Do you feel like you did everything you wanted to do in your X Factor career? Do you feel like you did enough for them now that you're leaving to go back to Dynasty?
No, I wouldn't say I did everything I wanted to do there. I definitely would have loved to do a few things differently, and ultimately me leaving is even a product of my own not failure, but my own lack of just being content with where the team was or I was at within the team. But don't get me wrong, like I think I had a big influence in that team, and certainly in that team becoming the team it is more recently, and I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of the fact that the team, we have 2 World Cup finals in a row. What I'm really, really proud of is that the previous year I was injured and I didn't even get to play on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And for them to make the finals without me, to me, I took that as kind of a big pat on the back because a lot of people assumed that the team needed me in order to perform that well. And for me, my whole essentially job as being one of the leaders on a squad is to get the team to the point where they don't. And so I feel like I think I proved that at this point. And obviously I feel like I've left the team in a really good position. They've got a great roster. All the guys are playing really good. And, that's something I'm really proud of. It's not like I left the team in shambles, and ultimately the team's where it's at because of a lot of work from all the guys on the team and also the leadership within the team. And obviously I was a part of that. So I'm really proud of that team, really happy with the way everything's turned out. I'm really proud of our accomplishments. Ultimately I was just kind of ready to do something different and needed to kind of spark my interest or creativity in different ways. And that's ultimately what me going to Dynasty is all about.
Now, in paintball, we don't really talk about super teams and we don't really talk about super players, but there is a small number of players that go team to team to team together or, in increments of small 1 or 2 moves at a time. And there's only 1 or 2 to 3 teams that ever really dominate the sport for the last 20 years. It's just the way it is. We have seen teams fall off, like the Ironman, which was one of those iconic names that just now can't figure it out. But in 2020, they had success and whatnot. Going into 2022, do you feel like you left X Factor to create a super team with Dynasty that they just won, and they have Ryan and Alex and they have Marcelo, and they lost Tyler, but they're still obviously winning without him. So like, do you feel you're creating this super team? Do you feel like you just went to a winning team to win, or do you feel like you're going to be an X Factor again on this team?
No, so actually, I feel so strongly. It was actually the hardest thing for me to do is go to Dynasty while they're winning. And I know a lot of people do it differently than that. Like, that's not why I go to a team. And actually, I prefer to not go to a winning team. And that's actually what made the decision even tougher. But, like some players, their entire career, all they do is go to winning teams. And for me, it's hard to even say how much influence you have when a team's already winning and you go join them, or you go to a team full of just a stacked roster. It just, I don't know, man. That's just honestly, not really my thing. And that has nothing to do with why I'm going to Dynasty. I'm going to Dynasty because I feel like the evolution of who I am as a person fits more in that squad than my previous squad. And that's what I'm looking forward to doing, is being around, guys that I think I'm just in line with a little bit better. And that's not on the field, and
Yeah,
honestly, I think, yeah, correct. And honestly, I would argue, and I still make this case, like Dynasty had a phenomenal season, but how does it get better for a team? You know what I mean? Like, for them to win 2 events, like, honestly, it's going to be harder for us, even though I know how great of a player I am and I know how great of a team they obviously are at this point in time. It's still going to be so much harder for Dynasty to win an event next year than it will be for, in my opinion, Impact, Heat, or X Factor. So I think it's quite the challenge, and that's what I actually really enjoy about paintball. And yeah, let's just say Dynasty doesn't do as hot and X Factor does great. They're going to say, oh, it was Archie was the the reason. So it's just it's funny. I've got a target on my back already, and I'm good with it.
I mean, you've never been one to shy away from competition, and obviously you've proved it time and time again. And year after year, you've been a top player. You were an MVP. No one can doubt that you're not one of the top 3 best players in the league. I've been in this sport for 25, 30 years. I grew up in it basically, and I've seen you be at the top of the game for as long as I've known you. So I don't think there's anything to worry about there. I want to get into some player detail right now. I want to start seeing your mind and how you look at the game. Marcelo Margot, one of the best players, doesn't get a lot of credit. I think if you play paintball, you have a different view of him. Maybe if you're a pro paintball player, for some reason he has different stigmas, and there's multiple opinions that carry the league about him. But if you just watch the game, there's no way you can doubt he's one of the best. Alex Goldman, considered one of the best ever, and obviously the best snake player. I love how Oliver classifies that, hey, if you have to classify yourself to a snake player, you've already become a loser in my book. So I'm going to stop calling people snake players and back players and just call them players. Marcelo and Alex Goldman, compared to each other, which one is better and why? This is a conversation that needs to be had by top players like yourself, so other players can understand the game a little bit better. It's nothing to insult anyone. It's always with respect. But Marcelo Margot, Alex Goldman, which one's better and why?
Well, I don't think you can really say which one is definitively better because of the style of play, right? Like, obviously it depends on what you're looking for. If you need a dude that's like just a full bore aggression, kind of like run down the field and get you a bunch of kills quickly, or that type of player, then obviously you're going to go with Mouse. But at the same time, like, Marcelo's probably one of the best shooters in the league off the break, and on top of that, one of the best closers and defenders in the league as well. So it's kind of hard, and don't get me wrong, like, Marcelo is in large part helped Dynasty win because on Sunday he was playing really aggressive and really methodical on the Dorito side, but also definitely aggressive and taking advantage of points to kind of swing points or win points when that kind of side was not really utilized as much so much in the prelims, right? So he was a big reason why they won, obviously. So yeah, it just kind of depends, but like I do think that both those guys, like, you could say Mouse could be a better defender, or certainly a player that doesn't have to just be that guy. And at the same time, like, you know, again, just like we saw Marcelo, like obviously the dude can play the number one on the Dorito side and really, really be, you know, super efficient at it. So that'll be interesting to see if Skinny or, you know, us ending up utilizing Marcelo in that way too, because obviously the dude's a stud. And, you know, one of the things that I appreciate about Marcelo so much is that he's such a big student of the game and he takes it so seriously, and it's very evident when you watch him play. So, yeah. Anyways, yeah, both those guys.
If you were a captain of a team, you're a captain of a pro team, you're the captain of Dynasty, you have to choose one of those two players. They're both free agents. Who are you choosing?
I'm gonna go with Marcelo.
You'd go with Marcelo. Okay. Now,
and obviously, that's the more valuable player this year. You know, it's easy decision.
Easy. Okay. So you're strictly statistics. I like the way you're operating, and obviously it's a good way to look at it. No jokes in that. Which team do you hate playing?
You know, I don't hate playing against any teams. I really don't. Yeah, I don't know. I would argue that I hate to play against the shitty teams or a bottom team, you know, honestly, because they have nothing to lose, you know.
Got it. Yeah.
It's hard when a team has nothing to lose. It's very hard to predict what they're going to do, you know, like, and don't get me wrong, you should still beat them no matter what. But, you know, like I like to go up against a solid team always, you know.
Yeah. It's a better gameplay, and obviously play against a bottom ranked team. Nothing against them, but they tend to play the game a little bit different, a little bit more rambunctious, and it causes chaos. Totally makes sense.
Yeah, you're also not going to get tested. You're not really going to get shown much. And again, it's just a false match. Essentially, you're not getting the same, you know, you look at it this way. If we have the cake division in the prelims and then we go into Sunday and we're having to play, you know, like a team that had a tough division, they've got all the edge at that point. You know what I mean? Because they were able to get that kind of the reps and the looks and the experience, you know, those harder points in the match. So I would actually, yeah, that's what I hate. I hate playing shitty teams.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And obviously, we've always talked about this in paintball. There's these false narratives that don't allow teams to really show who they are, or they get a false narrative of who they think they are, and then they go and get smashed on Sundays. It's why good teams get sent home early. Over the years, you play paintball on so many different levels, in the woods, in the tournament. What was your favorite gun you've ever used, and why?
You know, honestly, that's an easy question too. My Project G Planet Eclipse CS2 Pro, it's the gun I've been using for the last full season and a little bit more than that. And you know, it's the reason, one, because Planet has always, you know, been a storied company and I've always made top end gear, but Project is a brand that myself and Ryan Brand created, and so it's to be able to use a gun that I helped design and create is, you know, kind of special. So we're coming out with new stuff, and you know, we'll be putting that out in the coming months, so you guys will see what we're working on next.
I love that. Who were some of your idols growing up in the sport, and why were they your idols?
Yeah, idols growing up, Oliver for sure, and honestly, most of the Dynasty camp. You know, I remember my first event was 2003 Pomona. It was a 10-man tournament, and Dynasty was playing, and I was just starstruck. I mean, at the time, I was 15 or 16 maybe, and I hadn't seen any pro players in person, and I remember walking the field and looking at Angel just like methodically, like walk the snake. And but yeah, I mean, Dynasty, definitely all those Dynasty guys, but like Oliver, Angel, Alex, for sure, I really admired those guys. And then also I really enjoyed the trauma camp, like Tyler Humphrey. For me, before we started playing the national scene, like I was looking at all those guys play and watching their videos, and I just thought they were a really storied team, and I thought they played with a lot of class and also like an elevated kind of like understanding of the way paintball should be played, and I always tried to emulate that to the best of my abilities.
Yeah, Tyler definitely had some amazing stories too. That trauma camp, having their own trauma house and winning and coming in with that big year, was an amazing era in paintball as well. Over the years, what was the best team you ever played against? What team did you look at and you just say, damn, they are fundamentally sound. They have the best squad. And what roster was it? Why? Because I feel like a lot of players don't really get to shine light on who gave them the biggest, you know, competitive battle.
Yeah, I would say like early on the Russians, like when X Factor first turned pro, we were the bottom seed because we joined in the middle of the season. So every event we were having to play the Russians, and back then they were just so dominant, you know. And we felt like we were great with the gunfighting and stuff because we were playing so much at the time, but the Russians were just next level, you know. And yeah, we had a hard time beating those guys. And then maybe more recently, I would say probably Impact a few seasons ago. I think when they had Keith on their team and Rainey, they kind of just were able to do. They just had a really solid squad, and I also believe that their coaching was really on point for a few seasons there, kind of when they went on the run, and since then I think teams have caught up quite a bit. Obviously, the results show, but I'd say yeah, Impact a few seasons ago, and then the Russians back in the late 2000s. Yeah,
The year I was on the Russians. How,
that was not that no, definitely not that year.
it's okay. I know you were scared of us. Don't worry about me. How good is Rainey Stanzak? I feel like he doesn't get enough shine. No one ever talks about this guy, and this guy's been on winning teams for the last 10 years, and he's a monster on the field. What's your opinion of him?
You don't think Rainey gets enough shine?
Not that he deserves. I think he's a top 5 player in the league, and I don't ever feel like
he's definitely one of the best players. He's super methodical. He understands the game very well, and he's a great player. I think it's no. I'm pretty sure he's the winningest player of the last decade on any team. To be honest with you, I'm pretty sure. Obviously, like again, he also played on the best teams and he went to the best teams. So you got to kind of weigh that in as well, But yeah, they were winning and then he went to Impact and obviously they went on a big tear there. And then he went to Impact. When he came to X Factor, again, I would argue that we were still one of the best teams in the world. So it's, he's a great player and that's why he's able to go on, any team he really wants, basically. Yeah, I think his record kind of shows it. He's a phenomenal player, and obviously big time moments, big games, overtimes. I mean, he's always there.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the most clutch players for sure. I think that's the best way to define him. And he always comes up. He never is really bothered, and he kind of always has his composure. So I personally don't think he gets enough shine, but that's good to hear from you. What is your thoughts on LJ going to Hinman's camp aftermath? What's your opinion of Hinman aftermath, LJ, and that whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for LJ because I know he's got a lot of fire and a lot of heart, and I know he wants to play. I'm curious to see how that's going to work out. It's obviously really hard on players, and also like having played with LJ and knowing the inner workings of playing with somebody for years. I just I hope he's going to be able to handle that, or they are able to kind of find a working relationship that works for both of them. LJ's a phenomenal player and used in the right way can totally upgrade any team. And that is the truth, so but again, like finding the balance and finding a way to work together and really be able to help each other. Like that's going to be very important for those guys.
What's your opinion of Mike Hinman as a coach?
Oh, Mike's an incredible coach. And granted, I don't know if coach is necessarily the right word, but he's an incredible developer of talent. And obviously, like, I don't necessarily know that there's anybody better at it than him. I mean, more top level pro players have come through him than probably anywhere else, and that says a lot. And honestly, that's also the hardest thing in paintball to do is to get people to find ways to be better, because a lot of the times it's just up to them. And for whatever reason, Mike has found a way to force it out of people, whether they were going to do it or not. Right. So, my hat's off to Mike because, again, like I said, that is the hardest thing in paintball to do. Get players to become who they will be. Right. And usually that's dictated solely on that player. And for whatever reason, Mike's found the formula because he's, high level elite type of players, right? So I wish I was around him more, to be honest. Maybe pick his brain and find out a little bit more of that secret.
Yeah, no, he's definitely one of the best coaches, but he's also like an overall mentor to players. He can cultivate players, and he kind of brings out this grit in them. I've had to battle him my whole life in SoCal. We became close friends, and I think he's one of the best, definitely one of the best pro minds for sure. What is your opinion of Tyler Harmon leaving Dynasty midseason, going to Houston Heat, and how good really is Tyler Harmon?
I think Tyler's one of the best guys to play in the league right now, to be honest with you. And I know he's on like kind of almost on his own level. He's really sharp and he plays a lot, and obviously like that helps, you know. But Tyler obviously he's been playing pro for 20 years, so he obviously knows what's going on. But he's definitely elevated his game over the last probably 5 years to being like pretty elite type of player. You know, it's hard to say, like it's hard to give an opinion on him leaving Dynasty for Heat. You know, like I don't know exactly his circumstances, and you know, like at the time I know there was a little bit of bad blood there. Certainly it seemed as such. Ultimately, like if he felt like he needed to do something that was better for him, or he wasn't having the fun, or he wasn't enjoying himself, or he just needed to do it for some reason, you know, then I'm going to support that no matter what it is. You know, but I'm sure it probably stings a little bit knowing that he left and Dynasty ended up railing off 2 in a row at the end of the season and won the series, you know, because at least as a high level player, you know, that's gonna hit no matter what, you know. So, but ultimately he's got plenty of opportunity over the next couple of seasons to prove himself, and you never know, he may even you know, go back to Dynasty for all I know.
That would be the move, I feel like. What was your favorite 5-man roster you've ever played on?
Man, that's tough, dude, because yeah, it's just tough. Like, I mean, there's been seasons on X Factor where it was just awesome, you know. I mean, 2019 when we won the series and we won 2 back-to-back tournaments, like, you know, that was honestly a really incredible year. And actually, I wouldn't even say that was my favorite. Actually, I would actually say my favorite year in paintball season would be with the Golden State Kings in 2019, playing in Europe. It was basically mostly the Dynasty guys with Kyle Spica and Rain events, and we had Johnny Greer and Charlie. But it was me, Ryan Greenspan, Blake, Marcelo, Charlie, Johnny, and we had Rainey for the last 2 events as well. And honestly, that was an incredible season. A season I'm very grateful for, and showed me a lot and taught me a lot. And I also think that a part of such a good season in that year, which we won 2 of the last 2 events, or sorry, 2 out of the last 3 events, and the series. I think one of the reasons I had such a good year was because of the stuff that I had kind of learned and brought in, kind of a little bit of mentality also from that team, or certainly that good energy, right? And we were able to kind of just ride the energy from Europe to the States.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And obviously you guys, that Golden State team or that night team, whatever it was obviously one of the best lineups we've seen all year. And you guys smashed everybody. I remember I was supposed to be out there in Europe previously. Before that, Mr. Worldwide took a little hiatus, but before that I was playing every European event I could go to. What is your Houston Heat roster, the team they have, and why you don't think they couldn't put it together to kind of win that last event and do better, at least a little bit better than what most people thought they did?
Or you know, they just lost to us, or X Factor, rather. You know, and again, like I think it was a 1-point game. You know, it could have gone either way, and they definitely could have beaten Dynasty. You know, it would have been a close game again in the finals. You know, it's dude, when you're talking high level paintball, bro, it's so close. You know, 1 kill, 1 penalty, and 1 anything. You know, and actually, I would argue, I'm pretty sure they lost that game because of a penalty, if I remember correctly. Maybe it was a prelim game. I'm not 100% sure, but nonetheless, like, you know, the games are so close, the teams are so good. It's 1 or 2 just of the smallest instances or would determine who wins and who loses, you know. And when you do it like that, it is what it is, man. I mean, they won an event this year. That's more than X Factor could say. And you know, it's just tight, man. It's just razor, you know, the razor's edge is what differentiates the winners and the losers, man.
No, it makes sense. And paintball is one of those games where it really is a game of inches, and 1 ball here, 1 ball there, and you can lose a whole tournament or get a penalty. So there is a lot there that most people that have never played pro paintball don't realize. Not even divisional can kind of experience what it's like playing in that pro division, which we've all had the experience of doing. Who is the most overrated pro paintball player? And I don't say this in a negative way. I say this in a way that a lot of teams, look at this player and think that he's going to make a difference. He's going to be an X factor. He's going to be an Archie type, Oliver Lang type player, but never really lives up to his name. I think once again, it's important to have these conversations because it shows the lengths and the ranks of the pro paintball scene. Who would be that one player for you?
Man, honestly, like as much as I would love to answer that, I don't really have an answer because I don't really feel like that many people are overrated, to be honest with you. Like, yeah, dude. I mean, there's only like 6 or 7 guys in the league that are like the cream of the crop, and all those guys deserve it. So like, I don't see anybody that's even like considered top, like shouldn't be. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just don't feel like there are that many people overrated. The guys that are at the very top of the game are honestly way better than the next 50 or 60 players.
Okay, so who are a couple of those top players at the height of the game right now?
Okay, like Ryan, Fedorov, Chad, Billy, Mouse. Let's see here, who else? Cody from Infamous is really sharp. Trying to think here. Oh, I'm missing. Okay, let's go on Heat. Oh, you got to go with the top 5 teams. So, like on X Factor, you've got Billy for sure. On Impact, you've got Mouse, maybe even Brandon Cornell or JC at any moment, right? On Dynasty, you've got Ryan, Marcelo for sure. I mean, all those guys can also be the best. Like obviously watching Blake the last 3 or 4 months, he's been on another level. And then Infamous, you've got Cody, Callie. Those guys are studs. Harrison's actually been playing really good. I think that's been a huge reason why they've been a little more consistent. He's been, he's elevated his game a lot. Trying to think who I'm missing as far as like a for sure top level elite player, but like those are the 4 and 5 best teams. So it's hard to really say anybody not on those teams is like elite type of caliber. There's a bunch of great players in the league, but being in that elite kind of tier is just very, very difficult to do.
No, it makes sense. And obviously there's a small group of players, you being one of them, that kind of dominates the top of the pro ranks, and the rest of the players kind of just filter through that secondary category. And it's always going to stay that way just because of the length of play you have and the experience. And that's really what separates players. Wrapping up this interview, what I think a lot of people want to know is, what is your approach to tournaments and to practice? What do you do differently that separates you from everyone? How did you become this elite level player? It doesn't just happen by playing and practicing, because anybody can do that. Anybody can snap shoot. Anybody can run to the snake and shoot someone. It's this level of consciousness when you're getting shot at to close a game. It really is something that's special. What do you do differently that sets you up to win tournaments and win games?
Yeah, that's actually a really good. I feel like I've answered these questions a lot, but more recently I'm starting to understand a few more things about it. One of the things that I really think separates me from a lot of people is being radically honest with myself as a player and as an individual, as far as what I need to do to be better, right? And I don't get so caught up in the kind of I'm so great attitude in paintball, which is only going to slow you down, right? And also, another thing that I've been studying for a long time, and I mean like 15 years, I've been studying philosophy for a long time, and understanding that your perspective and also how calm you are will determine and certainly have some influence on how good of a response you're able to have out there on the paintball field. Like you see those guys that are just always super heated, right? And all I see is that when shit hits the fan and the moment's really crucial, there's going to be some slight miscue, or can be, or more likely to be, if you're not as calm and mindful and understand the importance of philosophy in really trying to be one of the best in the world, right? Or ever even, And so like philosophy and being honest with myself about really improving is, I think what separates me. I've studied the game for a long time, but more importantly, I've really adamantly been honest about who I am and what I can do better, right?
Yeah. I feel like that's like that. And I hate to always go back to him, but that's that all-over mentality because, you know, he might not have been the best snap shooter or the fastest player or the quickest, but he always had the mental warpath to say, I'm going to go out there and make a difference with my team. And something that you kind of show and you kind of have this duplicated feel to, but you have your own twist to it. It's not, you're not in his shadow. You just have that same play and it works well for you. Wrapping up the interview, last question. Archie, top 3 players in the league in order. We want to know, and we want to know why. People need to understand this as part of the dialect that needs to happen.
Okay. All right. Let me see here, man. So you're talking like just right now, right?
1, 2 current players. I'm not talking Chris Lasoya and Rocky Cagnoni. I'm talking the top 3 players in the league going into 2022. Let's hear
Okay.
it.
And I won't include myself in that.
No.
So I
Include
would.
yourself if you're in there. We're asking everybody the same thing we want to know. So include yourself if you're in there. We want honest opinion, and this is nothing to shy about. This is the full experience.
I'm not going to include myself. So Ryan Greenspan.
Number
Obviously,
1.
you don't got to explain. Yeah, you don't got to explain why he's there, right? He's an incredible player. He's been a dominant player for forever. He has every part of the game mastered, right? I mean, no doubt about it. You know, again, he gets it, right? And that's what it takes to be, you know, and granted, he's the only player on this list that I would say has been an elite player for more than a few years, right? So meaning like high end, considered one of the best ever, right? And then I would go with Billy. I think he's totally reformed his. I mean, obviously he's been a monster for a long time, but at the moment he's rounded out his game very, very nicely. He's been on it really sharp, and again, like I was describing, and what it takes to be at that top level. Like I know for a fact Billy's working that hard to do it, and the results are there. He's definitely, in my opinion, the most consistent snake player in the league for the last couple of years. And
Bernacchia is number 2 in the league right now. Okay. And
yeah,
number
and
3.
then I would say 3 would be probably Tyler. I think Tyler is just one of those guys. You see him pulling out stuff all the time. He's a great, phenomenal player. He gets the game. He understands it all. And obviously there's a couple of guys that are all right there within, striking distance, and just, 1 or 2 different things, or, Tyler not pulling off a 2-on-1, changes the way those are. But, you'd be hard pressed to say any of those 3 guys aren't like, the best players, in the game right now.
Greenspan, Bernacchia, Tyler. I would put you right now at number 2. I would put Ryan at number 1, and number 3 I would probably put Tyler. So I'm kind of right there with you, but I would definitely put you in there over Bernacchia, even though I love Bernacchia. It's been amazing. I feel like people are kind of going to get a little look into you going into the 2022 season. You're going to Dynasty. Last question. What are you excited about most? Are you excited about winning? Are you excited about playing with them again? Are you excited about the future after this season? Are you excited just to be away from X Factor in a Dynasty jersey again? What is it that makes you the most excited going into the 22 season?
Honestly, I think I'm just excited for something different. Paintball, we're in it to have like the most fun as possible, and trust me, like winning really isn't everything. And I'm just really looking for a fresh set of eyes and a fresh new kind of thing to do, I don't think people understand like what it takes to be like the go-to guy or a leader on a team for a long time. And it's honestly, it can be exhausting, and it can also, those things run their course, and you get to the point where sometimes you don't really want to do that anymore, or you just want something different, right? Or maybe, yeah, I mean, it's hard to explain, but yeah, I'm kind of just really excited to start doing things in a different way, and figuring things out a little bit differently. And I'm excited to kind of find my role on the team and do my best and figure out in ways in which I can help on a new team, on guys that I'm not used to being around, or guys that I haven't been around a long time. I'm excited to play with the new guys on Dynasty and try to bring them up and help see if I can make them better players, right? Those are the things I'm excited about. I'm not excited to not be around X Factor. You know, like I'm going to miss that. You know, I miss those guys, and those guys are all great guys, and they're all great friends of mine, and we had a lot of fun and a lot of great tournaments together. You know, but I'm ready for something different, and that's what I'm excited about. Just kind of the unknown, and also the challenge of, you know, Dynasty's got the mark on their back, and I went to a team that just won 2 events in a row. So like, I'm excited to see if we can do better. You know.
Yep. No, it's been a awesome ride. Obviously, watching you guys win and play, and you were on Dynasty, and then you left. I think when you were on Dynasty, Oliver was there as well, right? The first
No,
time you
actually,
were.
I never got to play with Oliver. It was kind of I think he was finishing up his season or his contract with the Ironman. So, and then when I came back to X Factor, that's when Oliver rejoined the team.
Got it. And then you actually never played with him. So the only players you've actually ever played with on Dynasty is Alex and Greenspan, correct? And Yosh.
Alex Greenspan, Yosh, and then I've played with Marcelo and Blake overseas as well.
Got it, but never on Dynasty.
Not on Dynasty.
So this is going to be an exciting time, obviously, to watch you guys throw the hammer down on people and just really do what you do best. Hopefully, you'll split some wigs and get some wins. If you don't,
Wig splitting for sure, dude.
you form the super team that doesn't win. So either way, you got a mark on you. So you got to perform this year. But I think you'll live up to the challenge. You're obviously
Yeah.
Cool Experience podcast. Archie, we appreciate you.
Dude, thank you, Barry. You have a good night, man. Thank you guys all. And yeah, we'll see you soon.
Let's do it.